नमस्कार, मैं अशोक व्यास और आज के कार्यक्रम में जब हम वाइड एंगल से देख रहे हैं दुनिया को, then I am reminded of the creative potential which many NRIs have, and there is a passion which makes someone who is pursuing his career as software engineer, working as project manager, decides to take up that aspect of life which is referred to as filmmaking. So he is a movie buff and he is a writer, he's director, partly producer and whatnot, probably editor also. After distance between us, he has made Uncommitted. But you are committed to the film.
I am committed to the film.
And there is one character in the film who is between commitment and not commitment, and she happens to be someone whom we have known as Miss India, New York runner-up. She's also amongst the top 10 Miss USA. She has acted in many big theater productions, and now she's a part of this film called Uncommitted. So I have the pleasure of welcoming Nandini Rani Iyer to our studio. Nandini, welcome.
Namaskar, and thank you so much for inviting me tonight.
So Nandini, as they always say, ladies first, so we forget about the director, let's talk to Nandini. So Nandini, how this film came to your fold?
Actually, this film was referenced to me by a dear co-star and a friend of mine, whose name is Akshay. He plays one of the roles in the films as well, whose name is Rajiv in the film. Akshay was always a very, very, very big fan of mine and my work especially. And he called me up one day and he said, I have a director to introduce you to who's in IT. He doesn't have too many films that he's done, but he's a wonderful person and he's done a couple of films that I've been in. I would like to introduce you. So immediately I had my manager call up Chanduji and the ball started rolling from there to discuss this film. And in fact, I was given the role of the lead for this film. And at the time, I was committed to quite a few projects. I told my director, I said that I would love to play this role of this character, who is the third lead in this film. Her name is Simran. And
so he has been very accommodative, I must say, and he's committed to his actors.
Yes.
So Chandu Yaram, tell me why this title Uncommitted? What is this film all about?
Uncommitted. See, this is just opposite to the commitment. Commitment is a contract between two individuals, and the story also revolve around a person who doesn't believe in a marriage system, who fall in love with a person who believe in the marriage system. She's American Catholic and he is Indian Hindu. So the conflict is between these two individuals.
So you have taken two characters who are referring to their commitment in different ways. Is there something new in the film that we can expect?
So if you see most of the domestic issues or violence or divorces, and these are all related to the commitment issues. This one, this is a conversation about around this issue.
So Chandu, I come back to you. Nandini, film, when we say, normally we are looking at potentially something that adds entertainment value to our lives.
Sure.
The way he is talking about Uncommitted looks like it's a very serious film. What was your experience?
Well, as serious as the film was and the script was, it was certainly a jovial pleasure to work with this entire crew, cast, and quite a bit dissect the script for me in a way that was not just about this role of Simran and Gopal. For me, it was more of what is my relationship to all these characters. So there was a lot of thought process that went on behind the scenes for me to develop who I am. Because as an actress, I believe that it is not about getting 100 lines in a film, whether you have one line or two lines, your expressions throughout the film itself carries a long way through. So I had a lot of fun.
So I think if actors have fun, probably a part of it comes for the audience also. But whether it is really fun to watch this film or not, let us try and decide based on the trailer that we are now sharing for the first time on iTV, a trailer of this film called Uncommitted, directed by Chandu Yaram. Let's watch.
But my friend here is hot and single, and his name is Misha. Easy, no spilling drinks.
I will never live for the sake of another person, nor ask another person to live for mine. I just want to experience life, and I want someone to experience that with. Not her friends.
So, when is the big day? When Vish was ready.
That's the problem. He's just never ready.
And all she wanted was to be your wife because she was that proud to be with you.
Not her family.
All right, let's get out of here.
And not the state or federal government.
Payment of $250,000 in cash and a monthly alimony of $2,000. She keeps the house and keep your sanity.
Your life is over.
There's no point! No point!
Living in the land of the free, you need to be free.
A commitment to beauty. Happiness. And pride.
So that was a glimpse of Uncommitted, and we make out some tidbits from the film. It's very well shot. Some locations are pretty good. Now, talking about the logistics is one question, but what is it that is guiding your imagination? Is there something that you are carrying for a couple of years in your mind that these are the potential questions that I want to convey through my films, or how it is working out?
So multiple things actually influenced me to write this script. First thing is one of the conversations I had with one of my colleagues. It upset me actually. Why relationships are failing. He was going to very brutal divorce. He was not very happy, and so that conversation, and there are other couple of events in my friends' lives influenced me to write this script.
Whatever I hear and the way you have written in your director's note, it is like making a case that why one should not commit to the institution of marriage. And here you are trying to think about and feeling bad that why marriages are failing. Is there some element of that thought process also a part of the film?
Yes, the main idea is why marriages are failing. Main idea is freedom. That is the ultimate goal for any individual. Freedom is the important part. And the marriage is a contract, agreement. And when the person is dealing with the freedom and the commitment, there is creating kind of conflict. So in my director's note, I discussed about how marriage evolved and how it became a religion. And many people are marrying just for the sake of society and religious reasons.
I'll come back to you because I find these are kind of thought-provoking, simple observations. So he says many people are marrying because of the society or because of the religion, as if society is somewhere else and religion somewhere else and you are living somewhere else. So is not society and religion also an integral part of an individual's persona? Nandini, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think that our society affects the way that we think. It either affects or affects the way our thought process is about such a, I would say, not even a turning point, but one of the crucial points in our lives where some people say we begin our lives is that point of marriage. And for others today, I think in the society we're living today in 2015, there are people that don't believe in that ideology and that system of marriage. People are very happy just being in relationships for a very long time. So it depends upon, I do believe, from the environment that you're raised in, the country that you're raised in, as well as the influence that you receive from perhaps you're growing up in your schools, your environments, as well as home.
So now going a little away from society, coming towards the artistic angle of an individual. So in your case, Nandini, when you felt that I enjoy acting, and then you needed the freedom to pursue your acting skills and to hone them. So was it easy or difficult? Because parents or your surrounding may not be as encouraging for you to continue to
Sure.
invest more time in acting.
Sure. Well, for me, growing up, my parents were always extremely supportive in what I always wanted to do. Once upon a time, it was being a martial artist. Then after that, it became I want to be the world's greatest painter. And then, so I think as children, when we're growing up, we're still discovering ourselves. And I think that's a very integral part about growing up, is identifying who am I. So I do believe that as an artist and on that path and journey of being a very true artist, whether you are an actor or a dancer or a singer or what have you, that you stay true to who you are. So, and that is a very key element within my personal life, was that I stuck true to who I was. So was it difficult growing up and after my first debut at 12 years old, realizing, okay, the theater is, this is my home. It was difficult. It was difficult to convey that to my parents. But at the same time, I believe that my parents come from a background of that generation in India, us being the first generation here in America, that first and foremost, they only want the best for me, no matter what it is. So
I take this word best and now I go into the best, potentially best director, Chandu Yadav.
Yes.
So Chandu Yadav, when you are wearing a lot of hats, I mean, you are a director, you are a writer, and then because you have so much knowledge of the technical side, so probably you are also helping or editing your own film. Now, with all these hats as a director, when you are relating to the cast, the actors, was there enough energy left in you to convey what you wanted from them?
Yes, definitely. See, as a writer-director, as a writer, I have my characters. I know the characters very well. I dealt with already. And when I deal with actors as a director, I know how to put them in the character's shoes.
Okay, the way you understood your character, of course, director helped you and your co-stars also helps you. But in addition to your experience of being a part of Uncommitted, you have worked with other directors also. So tell me how important it is for you to have the kind of creative comfort level with the director, which would help your actor to perform the best.
absolutely. Just like our famous actress today, Rooney Mara, once said, that sometimes it is, for us actors, it's not about just the role or where the story is coming from or the development of how this script is going to come alive, but it's about how comfortable am I with my cinematographer and how comfortable am I with my director. So for me personally, that is of top priority to me, because whether the film is of success, not of success, whether the film is talking about apples or we're going in the direction of oranges or bananas, when my director and I are on the same page, and when we connect on an emotional level, perhaps a spiritual level, an intellectual level, and that creative level, we are bonding as one. And when we bond as one, we can channelize our creativity in a very fluid manner. And that is one of the things that I saw in Chanduji, is that when we were on set, whether he was storming us down and yelling at us, or whether he wanted to take the scene in a new direction or an approach, he was professional, direct, and comfortable. So it felt that I was at home. So yes, I would say having a comfort level with your director and your producers and your cinematographer especially the cinematographer and director, because these are the people you see every day. It is of high importance to me, and that was actually mainly one of the reasons why I chose to dive into such a film, especially a film where my director only gave me one scene that I was doing. He didn't even give me the whole script. I actually didn't know what the film was about completely. So, absolutely, yes.
So, I'm happy, Chandu Yaramji, your actors feel comfortable working with you, but how comfortable you feel at the end of the journey of having made Uncommitted, as you see it finally, a lot of memories during the period of shooting it probably comes back to you. Any instance in particular that you may want to share with us?
See, it's a long journey. Movie making is a long journey as a writer, and I traveled with the characters. And when I direct, I worked with the actors, and when I edit, I still see them every single day. And I remember I go back, and I'm still living in that moment. So in a nutshell, I deal with them every single day, even though I'm on the set.
And now tell me about the challenges of trying to find a balance between your 5-day profession and, if I say this is your weekend profession. So it must be difficult, and then of course you have a family,
yes,
young children. So your passion must be very intense that you manage to conceive of making a film, and then you have the confidence and conviction to be able to execute it. So success or not success is second question, but it's a great success to be able to make it.
Yeah, see, it's a passion. Passion is the driving force. And the second thing is, my cast and crew believing in the project is another important factor. And we traveled together a lot, and especially in the night times and daytime shooting, nighttime travel, and stay in a hotel, get up and get started again. It's all about the energy. My take is, my job is to create the comfort and support their passion. That's all I can do as a producer director, and creating a situation, and they do their best. And I'm very happy with the final product and the actor's performance. You rarely see this kind of performances, especially Indian films.
Who is your, let us say, ideal in terms of as a director? Any director, Hollywood, Bollywood, whom you admire very much?
Actually, it's directors. I follow many directors: Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, and Paula Haggis, Ram Gopal Verma, Indian director, and many others. And Steven Soderbergh is one of my favorite directors, and I follow his style basically.
Very nice. So now, Nandini, I also, as mentioned earlier, you are Miss India New York runner-up, and you are also amongst top 10 Miss USA. Okay. So this beauty pageant situation, you find that equally creative as acting on stage or for film? How is that experience of being on the ramp for these kind of pageants?
Absolutely, and I think that's an excellent question. For me personally, I was never into pageantry. I had no experience of pageantry from before. But I decided to enter that world of pageantry for a very specific reason. And that very specific reason, as far as Miss India USA is concerned, is that I have come to a point in my life where I believe that I have more than enough contacts and value to give to the fraternity. So had I entered pageantry 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I was still in the process of discovering myself and still in the process of working as an artist. still in the process of building relationships, and relationships that, yes, in 5 minutes, if I have to send a text message for a favor, that favor will come through. So entering the pageantry world was for a very specific purpose in my life, and that was to give to the pageantry, to say that, okay, this is a time in my life where I am doing work, and at the same time, I have a lot to give to to the fraternity itself. And with everything that I'm doing, no matter what it is that I'm doing, or no matter where I stand within the titles of the pageantry, my notoriety is theirs. And I've always been that much of a giving person. And that's, in fact, the same value system I have with Chanduji, is that I tell him that, every director that I choose to work with, and crew and cast that I choose to build my families with, that my notoriety is theirs. And we're here as a family, and this is a part of that journey. The journey is giving. And when you give, you will receive.
Wonderful. I think that's a very wonderful advice that she has given to us, or rather reminded us, and taking this word giving for Chanduji and connecting it with what way your creativity is giving to the community. When you look at your films from that point of view, is it catering the Indian American audience? It is catering to American audience? Is it catering to Indians? I mean, or what kind of audience you have in mind?
So my main target is Indian Americans and people who live here, and to show how Indians living in America.
Absolutely.
That's my main focus.
So focus is clear, but is it reaching Indian Americans, and what is it that Chandu Yaram or directors like him should be doing to make their work reachable to us potentially? So distribution wise in America, is there a special way in which films like this are being screened?
Sure. The only way to get direct distribution attention is through Film Festival channel. Film Festival, for my first feature film, The Distance Between Us, we got a Best Narrative Award, and it also selected Film Festival. Woo! And so because of these two, we got a distributor. So awards are the main criteria to get selected by the distributors.
Wonderful. So now, as we conclude this conversation, Nandini, very briefly, if I may ask you about your vision for your future as an actor.
Sure. What is my vision? My vision is to do the greatest and be the greatest.
Wonderful.
And
so that is a great thing, and on that great note, with lots of good wishes to Chandu Yaram for having directed his second big movie after The Distance Between Us, Uncommitted, and I am sure he's going to stay committed to his passion of making films, and potentially there are going to be more and more films coming to us. So we're talking to cast and crew of Uncommitted. Nandini, tell me, there is another co-star with you. Ronnie is the gentleman who plays it, and how was the chemistry between different artists, and especially what would you like to say about the character that is played by Ronnie?
Absolutely. The character that's played by Ronnie is, it's a quite complex a role, I would say. And in fact, I had looked deeply into the character because before I had decided to play third lead, I was supposed to be co-starring with him. So his character is quite intense. And in fact, the character of Simran is that she just gets along with everyone. And she's more like the peacemaker. So between him, his wife, Manisha, and him as well, she's kind of the one that puts everything in a nice Zen state of mind.
So now someone who has experienced getting into that state with the help of Nandini as whichever role she plays in Uncommitted. So Ronnie, first of all, welcome to this conversation, and tell me about your involvement with Uncommitted and the role that you play.
Sure. No, it was a fantastic experience. This was my second time working with Chandu, actually. And I've known the cast and the crew previously. It was a great chemistry all around. The role here is an antithesis of what the lead character is. I'm the second lead in the film. So I am the one who believes in the marriage system. I'm the one who's sort of standing against the tide of what the lead is, the agenda that he's pushing forward. So it was quite challenging because there's an interesting point of inflection that this character goes through where he comes to a realization. And I don't want to give away too much of the details, but that turning point and how to go about from a very different mindset who's very straight edge to somebody that starts to think differently is what I found very unique in this character.
And Ronnie, there are people who learn acting, so they are trained actors, and there are people who are inborn actors, and they say that everybody is an actor. So what you learned at acting school, how it helps you while you play these kind of complex characters?
Sure. No, I was fortunate enough to understand method acting. And I should say understand because there's so much more to it, of course. And I'm still a student in terms of in my heart because I think it's a lifelong journey. And as you keep on unraveling each role, there's so much more you continue to learn. I was fortunate enough to be part of Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. And I don't know if I was an inborn actor or if it was a learned talent. Whatever it was, the goal is to put it all together and bring it on screen and bring the truth of that character on screen. So it's really, I go back to the method acting, some of those theories and how to go about approaching a role differently.
So going into the skin of that character which you play in Uncommitted, how as director Chandu was helpful in helping you understand the character?
I think one of the biggest traits that I see in a director is giving the actors the flexibility to become a character. I didn't for one day felt stifled by Chandu, and I can speak for pretty much the rest of the cast. He would give you the opportunity to slowly get into the skin, to find that element that you're looking for, and I felt like that's one of the biggest strengths that Chandu brought to the table.
And very quick, how you see the opportunities that exist for Indian American actors here in America now with directors like Chandru coming up with more projects, and you have your own production company. Share with me your observation, your experience.
You see, Ashok, it all goes back to content. It's not about Indian actors or actresses getting cast into a project. It's about somebody somewhere envisioning who, that here's a character who could be Indian or of that background. It doesn't matter what it is, but somewhere where we start to change the tide and we look at the characters differently. Today, if you look at the broader scope, you're not finding many protagonists who are leading men who are of the South Asian origin. It's happening more so in India, in a lot of the Indian films, and we consistently play second fiddle, and it's not just Indians. It's simply because the industry is at a turning point. And I feel that one of the core elements are how content is driven, how we start to change the perception of people. If you go back in time, many things that were crazy, going back to even smoking weed that was bad back in the days, so now it's acceptable. So as a society, as a population, we start to perceive things differently. And that's what I think Chandu is doing. As a production company, I have a few films in my slate, a couple of feature films that we're working on, and that's the core objective, is to change the agenda, change the dialogue, and bring a new narrative to the table.
And very brief response from both of you about your expectations from Uncommitted. Nandini.
My expectations from Uncommitted. I didn't set some very high standard coming into the film, but my expectation was that due to the fact that my co-star and my dear friend Akshay had referenced me to this film, and because of the fact that I knew many of the cast members a part of this film, I expected to have a lot of fun and go through the journey by living it day by day and living within the moment and sticking true to our characters and who we were to play. And in fact, we were, in fact, the way that Chanduji gave this script to all of us was every week that we would shoot, he would only give those portions. So it was
very miser in sharing the script. That's not nice. He should be the host.
He was saving paper. Going green.
Right. So as we conclude, going to the other side, once the film is released, then also you have some hidden sort of feeling that, once this comes out, probably it's going to result in this kind of attention, or maybe it will create that kind of impact. From that point of view, expectations from Uncommitted for you?
Sure. Look, it's an uphill battle for any independent film when it comes to distribution. Let's be honest about that. And at the same time, I think by setting an expectations, it makes the journey a little bit tricky. So what I would say from my perspective is, when I look at Uncommitted, I would want people to appreciate the work and the passion that people have put into it. That would be the biggest outcome that I can appreciate. Everything else, we cannot control the rest of the world and how people perceive a film. Sometimes massive budget films go, down the wire, basically. But in this specific case, I think it's something I hope that everybody appreciates the work that's been put into it. There's a young director that's doing all kinds of amazing stuff and changing the agenda and kind of getting into an untapped market, I would say. So I think those are the core elements, keeping it in mind. It's important to support one another. It's important to create that sense of community where new directors, those who are coming up, how do we go out there and create that larger entity where we can be supportive? So more than expectations, it's more of a hope that people see that and appreciate our work.
And it is hope that keeps us going. From this director, and we'll hopefully see more of Nandini in more films and on theatre as well. Lots of good wishes to you.
Thank you very much, Ashokji, to have you here.
And thank you very much for being with us, and we stay committed to you. This is Ashok Vyas.